As the state of Florida continues to be one giant hotspot for coronavirus, the governor of the state, Ron DeSantis, has decided to claim that President Joe Biden could really learn a thing or two from his wonderful leadership in responding to the pandemic. Let's hear what he had to say.
You're just now the new enemy of the state. President Biden's going after you harder than the Taliban. How are you, Governor Ron DeSantis, prepared to handle that?
We'll be standing up against his failed policies at the border, his failed policy. You know, he said he was going to end COVID. He hasn't done that. We are the first state to start the treatment centers for monoclonal antibodies, having great success with that. That should have been a bigger plan, a bigger part of this whole response throughout the country from the beginning. But at the end of the day, I think he's trying to find a way to distract from the failures of his presidency. And so he thinks that he can attack Florida. Sometimes he attacks Texas because we're Republican states.
No, it's incredible. I mean, Florida currently is #1 in the country in terms of coronavirus-related hospitalizations. And Ron DeSantis, the governor of that state, looks at that situation and he's like, great success. He's Borat. Borat is the governor of Florida. Complete and utter moron. Why don't we take a look at what that great success looks like? That is the state of Florida. And the reason why everything is in dark red is because you see COVID cases spiking in every single part of that state. All right, so let's take a look at how Florida looks compared to the rest of the country. Oh, would you look at that? Florida tends to be a lot redder than the rest of the country. And the red, of course, indicates higher numbers of new COVID cases. But you know, Ron DeSantis looks at that and thinks, great success, great success. I mean, look, we're doing these new treatment centers and it's working. How about encouraging the residents of Florida to get vaccinated? But I forget, Ron DeSantis only does that for his wealthy donors who he insured. He got the vaccines to first. That was Lakewood Ranch and Palm Beach, which we'll get to in just a second. Cenk, I can't help myself. I want to show one more thing. You look at this list of states with the highest number of hospitalizations. Florida is #1. #1. Look at that. They have more than 17,000 Americans hospitalized in the state of Florida right now. These are unvaccinated COVID patients. It could have been avoided. The situation is so dire that Orlando urges residents to conserve water because of surge in COVID hospitalizations. Liquid oxygen used in hospitals and water treatment is in short supply as more critically ill patients need respiratory therapy. So officials in Orlando, Florida are telling their residents, please conserve water. We're in a dire situation. We need to ensure that we're able to treat these coronavirus patients. Take short showers, don't water your lawns. It's insane.
Okay, so now to be fair to Florida, they're #1 in hospitalizations, but per capita, but they're only #3 in deaths, thanks to Louisiana and Mississippi, two other deeply red states who thought it was a brilliant idea not to take any precautions. But I want to go back to that hospitalization graph that we showed you guys, because I want you to see the context. So you'll see that the per capita is in the middle, and you see that Florida is the highest at 80, eclipsing Alabama and Louisiana, Mississippi, et cetera. By the way, that means that Florida next week will lead in deaths because more hospitalizations lead to more deaths. So Florida caught up to Louisiana, Mississippi, et cetera, and is going to pass them in deaths if this trend continues. But I wanted you to see also the national average there, which is 29. So Florida is almost 3 times as bad as the national average. Well, that's what happens if you don't take any precautions. And if you don't take precautions, you don't get 29, you get 80. And so that is, those 17,000 people, you know a certain percentage of them are gonna die. I'll give you last week's stats from Florida. This week is way worse than last week, and next week's gonna be even worse, right? But last week's stats were 212 people dying in Florida every single day from coronavirus. Almost all of them are unvaccinated. Almost all of them were preventable.
Yep.
But DeSantis chose not to prevent them. That's 1,400 dead in 1 week. I mean, imagine if anything else had killed 1,400 people in Florida. And the governor said to everybody, what's the big deal? I can't believe people are criticizing me just because I didn't take. Because remember, guys, when there was no vaccine, it was harder to blame leaders, right? Now, if they said absurd things like you should inject bleach into your lungs, you say, hey, that's not a good idea, right? But at least they couldn't say, hey, take the vaccine and you'll be safe. Because there was no vaccine. Now there is a vaccine. You could actually totally prevent deaths in your state. DeSantis is actively choosing not to. And finally, it's actually getting through to the citizens of Florida, which I'll tell you about in a second.
Yeah, no, I actually have a lot more to add to this because it's infuriating. I think Ron DeSantis should be prosecuted for what he's doing because he's intentionally lying to the people of Florida, knowing full well that the vaccine is effective, knowing full well that wearing masks helps to keep people safe, but he's intentionally pandering to right-wing conspiracy theorists and lunatics for his own political career, and people are dying as a result of that. All right, so I'll tell you exactly why I believe this. I have evidence. His donors, his wealthy donors, were able to skip ahead of the line to get the vaccine first. His donors who mostly reside in Lakewood Ranch and Palm Beach. Now, let me give you the details on how this went down. And this proves that he knows about the effectiveness of the vaccine, but still lies and will not encourage ordinary, non-wealthy Floridians to get vaccinated. So Florida's rollout started pretty typically. The first doses were given to healthcare workers and nursing home residents in early December of 2020. But then a few weeks later, Governor Ron DeSantis, breaking from CDC guidelines, announced that he would not vaccinate teachers and essential workers next, but instead put seniors first, making everyone or anyone 65 or over eligible for the vaccine. Now that led to a frenzy because understandably, older Floridians wanted to get vaccinated as soon as possible. But here's the thing, the doses were not distributed evenly throughout the state. They were concentrated in two specific areas, Lakewood Ranch and Palm Beach. So a federal complaint raises other questions about the governor's vaccine distribution decisions and alleges Governor DeSantis was discriminating when he handpicked communities for pop-up sites across the state. One of those communities was Lakewood Ranch in Manatee County, just south of Tampa. In February, the governor announced he was giving 3,000 doses to the community. Now, why would he do that? Why would he focus on Lakewood Ranch? Well, it turns out Lakewood Ranch developer Pat Neal has donated $135,000 to the Friends of Ron DeSantis PAC. You know, don't you guys wonder, all of those conservatives who talk about a global cabal and the elites, don't you ever wonder why the elites were in a frenzy to skip ahead of the line and get vaccinated? And don't you wonder why your beloved Ron DeSantis is discouraging you from getting vaccinated?
Well, Anna, they're beginning to wonder that, and I've got the numbers on that. But first, from time to time, we read members and super chats on the show because we love doing the show with you guys. You guys make really smart points. So G.A. Jackson wrote in, DeSantis is literally killing more Americans than the Taliban. Well, that's indisputably true, but of course, DeSantis is going to say, no, well, I didn't specifically kill them. I just told them to take massive risks with their life and they wound up dead. So not my fault. I mean, if we're comparing actual numbers, it's not remotely close. Imagine, but I like that comment because imagine if the Taliban was killing over 200 citizens in Florida every single day and the governor wouldn't do anything about it. And the governor was like, nah, I'm not even gonna let the schools ban the Taliban. You think, what are you doing? They're killing 212 people every single day. He's like, I don't care. I don't care. I think it's no big deal, right? But when coronavirus does it, he pretty much encourages it. So now the numbers have moved in Florida. Democrats are always against him in Florida. The independents had turned against him because of how incompetent he's handled this lately. But now even the Republicans have said it's too much. 52% of Republicans saying he's handling this poorly in Florida. Now, why is it getting all the way to the Republicans? Remember, the right wing, they don't care about anybody that is outside of them and their community. Unless it affects them, they don't care. But now, there's so many of them dying that it's affecting them. So even the Republicans are saying, this looks really bad. maybe this guy's not such a genius like everyone on Fox News is telling me. So let me give you the numbers real quick.
He implemented a ban on mask mandates in public schools and threatened school districts with cutting their funding if they implement a mask mandate. The Biden administration had to step in to tell the districts, implement the mask mandates, don't worry, we'll make up the difference if your funding gets cut by the state. That's the kind of governor Ron DeSantis is. It's disgusting.
Which goes to some of these numbers. 61% of Floridians believe the rise of cases was preventable in Florida, and so obviously DeSantis did not prevent it. 63% believe the masks are effective. By the way, that number should be so much higher. Still 37% of Floridians go, masks, what do I need them for? We're about to pass Louisiana, Mississippi in the most amount of deaths. What do I need that mask for? But yes, 63% saying, duh, of course you need the mask. And 60% of Florida residents support requiring faculty and students to wear a mask while in school. So the state has turned, and now a significant majority say that DeSantis is very wrong to say that they should not have those mask mandates in the schools.
And remember, in that interview, DeSantis is like, but Biden said that we'd be finished with COVID by now. What happened? No, it's because of morons like you. We could be out of this awful situation, but with all these red states refusing to encourage their residents to get vaccinated. I mean, in Vermont, 68% of people in Vermont are fully vaccinated. In Florida, it's 52%. In Alabama, which has the lowest vaccination rate, 37% fully vaccinated.
Look, there's a cure. Well, there's a way to prevent coronavirus, and then unfortunately for some folks, there is no cure at all, but there's ways to treat it. But even more unfortunately, there's no way to treat dumb. And so all these guys think, no, I don't care that Uncle Bob died. I'd rather still listen to Tucker Carlson and all the right-wing knuckleheads in the media telling me that if I'm a tough guy, I'll take horse dewormer instead of taking what every doctor in the world says I should take. Well, enjoy your toughness all the way to the grave, unfortunately. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.